To Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, the local minister at the Prince George's Church of Christ, located at 7800 Central Avenue in Landover, Maryland. Throughout the week, we have focused on a very simplistic topic that deals with relationships. There are challenges to relationships, and at the same time, there are a litany of rewards when we're able to navigate the relationships in a meaningful, healthy manner. Uh, Today, I'd like for us to spend our time talking about preparing for relationships that sometimes are just not conducive to a healthy, forward moving person. And you'll see what I'm saying once we move into the lesson with tip number 4. Uh, how do you overcome relationship hesitation? This may sound foreign, it may sound strange, but it's really a reality when it comes to relationships. There's actually a phenomena called relationship hesitation. And you'll see at the end of the only 3 slides today why that is so important to understand. Hesitation is the action of pausing before doing something, especially because one is nervous or not certain about the outcome. And this is according to the Cambridge Dictionary. So there's a hesitation. Well, why do we hesitate? Because there's an anxiety, there's a nervousness, or we're not certain about how this is going to turn out. Uh, Hesitation might be due to the newness of an experience. For instance, a person never has driven a car before. They may be hesitant to learn or to get behind the wheel. Or hesitation be due to a negative experience that one has already had. Uh, they was they were in a bad accident the last time they drove, so there's a hesitation to get behind the wheel again. Or hesitation can be caused by due to listening to others whose results were not favorable. Child, no, I'm going to tell you, I had a bad experience with that. I wouldn't try that. I wouldn't. Well, why? Because I had a bad experience. I hear it all the time. I mean, I'm guilty of that. How many times have I told people, don't go to McDonald's? Well, why? Because one time my French fries were cold. Well, they sell 1,000 orders of French fries a day. So does that mean every order is cold? Or have I now put something in the atmosphere that is really going to cause others to hesitate when in fact it could have just been just unique to me on a bad day? Hesitation might be due to listening to others who have no idea, no experience, no reference points for which they are speaking. Uh, so others will hesitate based on what the most uninformed person has to say. Uh, Barbershop talk. Sometimes listening to guys in the barbershop, you think they would be lecturers at any major university in the world. Uh, they talk with such authority. They talk with such clarity. And if a person is seated in the barbershop with them that knows the topic, they'll say to themselves, this person doesn't have a clue of what they're talking about because their audience is, I don't want to use the term ignorant, but their audience doesn't know any better. So once that person spreads what appears to be knowledge, others will leave that environment hesitant based on what the individual who has not an idea, has no experience, have no point of reference, has said. So how do you overcome relationship hesitancy? I've outlined that it comes from many different places, but the question is, how do you overcome it? I've got 5 suggestions for overcoming relationship hesitation. And this could be applicable to any relationship that you want to name. Uh, Courtship relationship, friendship relationships, uh, job relationships, community relationships. Uh, it will apply. First, understand that everyone is not out to do harm to others. Everybody's not out to get what they can and destroy other people. Second, learn to walk by faith. Faith meaning the substance of things hoped for and evidenced by things not seen. Well, what is the history of the individual that you're struggling with, that you're hesitant about up to this point? Was it just a fluke situation? Was this their history? As far back as you can go, has this been the history of the individual? Has it been a negative history? Has it been a positive history? So learn to walk by faith and look at the substance. As hard as that might be, process the substance. And it's going to be visible to you whether or not your hesitancy is warranted. Next, listen to the heart of those who have loved you and been honest with you throughout life. You listen to people who you know care about you, who you know love you, and they have always shown unconditional positive regard to you. Even when you didn't like it, they would say, look, I know we have a great relationship. It goes way back, but I really need to say something to you about this. And I know you may not like it. I know you may not agree with it, but because we are friends and because I care about you and I've always cared about you, practice listening to the heart of those who have always loved you and who've always been honest with you throughout life. Here's another suggestion to overcome relationship hesitation. Continue walking in integrity. Although you may have to walk away from some potential relationships. This is what I mean. Sometimes deep inside of us, there are things we just know. So we're hesitating, not because we don't know. We're hesitating because it's really what we want to do. It's really who we want to be with. But if we walk in integrity, knowing that we may cry, we may feel bad, we may go through episodal depression because we had to walk away from something. But you can hold your head up high and you can always conclude at the end of the day, I held on to my integrity. And then finally, be willing to accept what God reveals to you about the relationship. This may be a difficult challenge. When we're dealing with sincerity from our heart, honesty from our heart, trying to walk by faith, trusting the Spirit of God to lead us and to show us, then we must be willing to say, God, this is hard for me to do, but I know what you're showing me is right. And I am now willing to accept what you're revealing to me about this relationship. It's toxic. It's not healthy. It's going to get me in trouble. It's going to pull me into a space that I don't want to be in. And you keep showing me over and over and over again things that are indicative of walk away. In fact, sometimes run away from this relationship. Relationships that you're hesitant in, and you know why you're hesitant, and you know your hesitation is coming from a space that is telling you to stay away. Or you may stay away from a relationship because you've been hurt in the past. But relationship hesitation, waiting on the Lord in those relationships, may pay off later. In the book of Ruth, chapter 2, I would encourage you to read the entire chapter, and actually chapter 3, chapter 2 and chapter 3. But I'm just pulling verses from chapter 2. Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth was a Moabitess. She said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. In other words, she didn't know who she would find grace in the sight of. But let me go. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And it just happened that she ended up on part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was the kindred of Elimelech. Look at verse 5. Then Boaz asked his foreman. He didn't know who she was. She didn't know who he was. Who is that young woman over there? Who does she belong to? You may not see what I see, but Boaz had probably seen a lot of women in his field. But on this one, he takes his time. He inquires about her. He didn't ask just anybody. He asked the foreman, because he understood the foreman will know who's in that field. Look at verse 8. Boaz went over and said to Ruth, listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the young women working in my field. He's not propositioning her. She's not propositioning him. He's taking his time and she's taking her time. Look at verse 13. Her response, I hope to continue to please you, sir, she replied. You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I'm not one of your workers. See, she's gone through the loss of a husband by death. And she's finding out there are some nice men still in the world. And she's also finding out he's treating me like a woman. He's acting like a God-fearing man. Now, look at verse 19 and following. Where did you gather all this grain today? Naomi said. Where did you work? May the Lord bless the one who helped you. So Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in whose field she had worked. She said, the man I worked for or worked with today is named Boaz. May the Lord bless him, Naomi told her daughter-in-law. He is showing kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. Wow. He is showing kindness to us. Do you see how this is softening Ruth's spirit? Do you also see how this is softening Naomi's spirit? Remember, she came back to Bethlehem, Judea, bitter. Remember now that Ruth had made up her mind, I'll spend all of my days taking care of you. And now their hesitation is beginning to soften. He is showing kindness to your dead husband. In other words, he's respecting him. He's not just ignoring him as a figment of the past. That man is one of our closest relatives, one of our family redeemers. In other words, Ruth, you have conducted yourself in a dignified manner with integrity, and Boaz is conducting himself in a dignified manner with integrity. Both of you have made visual contact, verbal contact with each other, but your hesitation was not out of fear. Your hesitation was out of you want to do the right thing. Let me encourage you to read chapter 3 because it's going to pay off. And Naomi knows it. And Naomi is going to help this girl. See, many times people can make choices to move forward if they get the right encouragement to move forward. And what you'll see from this story about Ruth and Naomi is Ruth was willing to listen to Naomi because Naomi was a wise advisor. And Naomi is going to bless Ruth by making sure she presents herself consistently before Boaz in such a way that Boaz would be honored to have her in a marriage relationship. I hope that the lessons on relationships, especially relationship hesitation today, has been encouraging. And I hope you'll always know there are several reasons why we might hesitate. But I always also want us to walk away knowing that when we trust God, when we walk in integrity, when we listen to the hearts of those who have loved us, and when we're willing to accept what God reveals to us about the relationship, then we're ready to move forward. I trust and pray that the lesson series has been a blessing to you. Maybe you can encourage someone else. I don't know. I'll see you back in class again on Monday. I will not be on tomorrow, but I'll see you back in class again on Monday. Don't be late and don't skip class. God bless you.